One more busy severe weather day expected before we start calming down in the severe thunderstorm department, but with the calming of storm chances comes the arrival of a summer heat wave in time for Memorial Day weekend. Let's talk about it in this Friday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Good morning, I'm Texas Storm Chasers Bully-in-Chief David Reimer. It is Friday, the 24th of May, 2024. Well, yesterday was another busy day across portions of the state with severe thunderstorms producing nasty hail and wind in San Angelo. We had storms really one storm in portions of central Texas produce multiple tornadoes along with hail wind. Bit of a surprise last night, and that's on me, is that we ended up having some severe storms develop in North Texas, Texoma, and the Ark-La-Tex late last evening overnight. I said at the conclusion of my severe weather coverage last evening about 8:30 that we were going to have a mostly quiet night. We did not have a mostly quiet night, unfortunately, and somewhat surprisingly, when the low-level jet kicked in at about 9:30 to 10 last night, winds a few thousand feet above the surface that typically increase with loss of daytime heating. It's a meteorology atmosphere thing. That was apparently enough of a oomph to generate thunderstorms. And some of those storms ended up producing some really big hail and nasty winds. Sherman, Grayson County, all the way east down towards Trenton, Leonard, Greenville, east, southeast. And then we had storms move into northeast Texas, the Ark-La-Tex, early this morning, a couple rounds. We had a tornado warning, in fact. Wind damage, hail, heavy rain. So, yeah, that one was on me. That was not a good call on my part, so my apologies for that. That was a bit of a surprise. Well, that being said, let's get into what we're going to be dealing with today. This is the severe weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. Now, like I've said the last few days starting with this, don't get all hung up on exactly where the lines are drawn, what the risk levels are, etc. The setups this week clearly have demonstrated their ability to generate thunderstorms at somewhat unexpected places and not in the typical locations one would expect, say the dryline, etc. Though yesterday we had plenty of dryline storms across the eastern panhandle, northwest Texas, the big country, the Concho Valley. We also had some storms fire up on outflow boundaries across central Texas, including the one that became the relatively prolific tornado producer across portions of central Texas yesterday afternoon to yesterday evening. Today, looks like we're going to have another opportunity for isolated to scattered supercell thunderstorms east of a dry line, and along with any remnant outflow boundaries left over from yesterday's storms or storms this morning across northeast Texas, east Texas, into Texoma, North Texas, and central Texas. Potential will increase after 3 p.m. Some data suggests we may not have storms really get going until 5-6 p.m. Usually that data is a little on the late side, so that's why we're going to start this risk at 3 p.m. It may end up being a few hours later, but once storms get going, like the past few days, like the past month, really, we expect they'll get rowdy pretty quick. Main issue, like the last few days, is going to be the potential for the most intense storms to produce baseball to softball size hail. It's May. We have a lot of tropical moisture in place. I mean, you walk outside, it feels like you're in a sauna. So that just means the atmosphere is a powder keg, extremely unstable, which is why we're able to get these storms up to 60 to 65,000 feet in a hurry, and why we have such prolific hail sizes and hail generation. The potential for damaging straight line winds of 60 to 75 miles an hour. Again, 60, 65,000 foot tall storms. What goes up must come down, and sometimes that does tend to happen in a relatively windy fashion. The tornado threat today is very low to low. The reason I left it at low compared to very low today is I am still concerned about these outflow boundaries. Just like I mentioned in yesterday morning's forecast across central Texas, these outflow boundaries can act as localized enhancers to the low-level wind shear and locally increase the tornado threat. Same thing could happen again today. Overall, low-level wind shear today is going to be on the weak side, but with these outflow boundaries in place, if we get a storm that latches onto one of these outflow boundaries in combination with the fact the atmosphere is going to be very to extremely unstable, the tornado threat is not zero, and it may be a little bit higher than very low. So that's why I'm leaving it at low today compared to the Storm Prediction Center's outlook, which has it at the very low category. We're just going to be a little lenient, a little conservative, and just say, yeah, we could have a few tornadoes today, but the threat of hail, damaging winds will be the most common, along with localized heavy rain. Here's the HRRR. You can see it does keep us quiet through the mid-afternoon hours, and then whoop, 5 to 7 p.m. we get storms galore east of the dry line, central Texas, the hill country, all the way up into North Texas, Texoma, east into the Ark-La-Tex, northeast Texas. Now, what this model is probably not picking up on are those outflow boundaries. We could see storms fire up in portions of northeast Texas, east Texas, a bit further east than what this model is showing initially. Texarkana, Tyler, Marshall, that area. Wherever we have an outflow boundary, those can act as, thunderstorm initiation points as well. But if this is right, well, it won't really matter. We're going to have storms anyway. We may have fewer storms than what this shows. We may have as many storms as what this shows. Regardless, you can see those storms get rowdy quickly. It may be a bit of a rowdy evening across portions of the Ark-La-Tex, Texoma, North Texas, Central Texas, and the Hill Country. And yes, this does have the potential to impact major population centers, Texarkana, Tyler, the DFW Metroplex, Sherman, Gainesville, Waco, Temple, Belton, again, Austin. That's it. Overall thunderstorm coverage, maybe 20 to 40% in the areas I just mentioned, meaning at least half of you, if not more, aren't going to see a thing out of this, but some of you are going to be dealing with rowdy storms. And I really hope it's not Temple and Belton again, because technically y'all had a brief tornado again yesterday afternoon, so that's now 2 days in a row of tornadoes near Temple, and I'm kind of tired of it. So if we can not do that again, I would really appreciate it. And I'm pretty sure the thousands without power and dealing with damage would also appreciate it. So again, that's the expectation. Storms will generally move off to the east, southeast. Probably not very quickly, but that's the general expectation. And you can see this does kind of try to develop some of these into a small cluster that moves towards the Brazos Valley, East Texas late this evening. Some storms may continue into early Saturday morning. Not getting tricked again by the whole everything's going to be calmed down by 10 o'clock. Nice, pleasant evening. Everyone gets to go home and enjoy themselves in the weather department. No, sorry, Bob. We're not doing that. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. That's a mallet to my head. And if it makes you feel better, I got the mallet ready if I make that boo-boo again. So, again, some of these storms into this evening could continue producing hail, damaging winds, maybe a few tornadoes, and locally heavy rainfall. This is not a widespread rain event. And for what it's worth, you can see, hopefully, by sunrise Saturday, we're done. All we're going to have are a few showers, maybe a couple of storms, if that. And then you can see it's actually going to be a pretty clear day across most of the state as we approach lunchtime Saturday. Now, let's talk about tomorrow afternoon. Well, that's not the right graphic. That didn't switch out. Hold on. Something's going to get hit with a mallet, and it's not my head this time. Interesting. I switch it out and it doesn't change. In fact, it just crashes the program. There we go. This is the latest severe weather outlook for Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. Now, we've seen a pretty big change here compared to the outlook I showed you yesterday for Saturday. Model guidance has come into better agreement that the cap is going to hold in Texas, meaning we may see 1 or 2 storms, but confidence, and even that is decreasing. And all things considered, we may not have storm issues in Texas at all Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. But again, if we do, those are going to be very rowdy storms. The highest chance relatively and conditionally right on the Red River, Northwest Texas, Texoma. Higher chances up in Oklahoma, western Oklahoma, central Oklahoma, northern Oklahoma to Kansas, where it could be a pretty rowdy day. There's still some questions about the cap and even those areas, but if storms get going, the ingredients are going to be quite volatile and supportive of, big-time severe weather. The strong long-track tornadoes, the DVD-size hail, the 80, 100-mile-an-hour wind type nonsense. But for us in Texas, if this trend continues, we're going to have a quiet Saturday, which would make Me, a very happy Baldy in Chief. Sunday, can't rule out a thunderstorm in far northeast Texas with a southward moving cool front, but the overall severe weather chances look lower. All right, let's take a look at the fire outlook the next few days. It has been extremely dry and hot west of the dry line. Yesterday afternoon, temperatures were well into the 90s in El Paso with a dew point temperature of 15 degrees below zero with a humidity of 1 to 2%, and it was windy. Today, tomorrow, Sunday, western third of the state, high to very high to extreme fire danger, wildfire danger. Again, I realize that we've gone, a little while now without having big issues in the wildfire department, but temperatures in the 90s to triple digits to even at times 110 degrees plus with wind, sunshine, and, very low moisture west of the dry line. It will not take long to dry out grasses, and some of these areas do remain in drought conditions, so this is going to become an issue again pretty quick. And we note that, the Panhandle, West Texas, the Permian Basin, the Edwards Plateau, even by Sunday, parts of Northwest Texas, the Big Country, the Concho Valley, through the Guadalupe Mounds, the Trans-Pecos, down into the Big Bend, the Davis Mounds, into the borderland of far west Texas around El Paso. Remember, fire weather is severe weather. All right, temperatures over the next few days. Well, I didn't set that button up, but the least I can do now is show you this. I admit I'm going to have to change this video on the fly too, so give me 5 seconds. I lied, it took about 5 seconds, but now I actually did the wrong video file. You know what? It's Friday. Let's just go with it. Here you go. Here's the right video file. We're actually trending towards somewhat of a less hot weather pattern next week, but with the upper level heat dome kind of not sitting on us as long as expected, well, we get a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is the heat wave we're going to be in this weekend, well, now through this weekend, is going to try to let up somewhat as we get into Memorial Day, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. But because we don't have that high pressure and sinking air overhead, the chance for thunderstorms may return. Now, the specifics on this for Monday, Memorial Day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and even beyond that next week are to be determined. There probably will be some threat of severe storms simply because it's a summertime air mass with temperatures warm and at least some upper level wind shear that would support a modestly organized convective mode. Hail and strong winds is the way it looks now. Hopefully less rambunctious, especially on Memorial Day, than the storms we dealt with this past week. So again, there may be some thunderstorms Memorial Day, maybe in parts of the southeastern half of Texas. And then for what it's worth, the American Long Range Model, what you're looking at, actually fires up the whole dry line on Tuesday. We'd be pretty busy across the western half of the state with strong to severe storms. Those storms could move into a cluster that moves east on Wednesday morning, and then maybe a few storms Wednesday, but then we actually get a cluster coming out of eastern Colorado, Kansas, late Wednesday night, Thursday morning, that moves into the Panhandle, Northwest Texas, Texoma, North Texas, early Thursday morning. That would actually be a fairly typical late spring, early summer weather pattern where we get northwesterly winds aloft, storms develop during the afternoon hours over the eastern half of Colorado, organize into a cluster, and then with a summer-like atmosphere in place, those storms would be able to organize into a cluster and move southeast and survive all the way into Thursday morning. But again, that's just speculation at this point. I'm just showing you this to say, yeah, it's going to be less active and hot this weekend, but as we get into next week, we're probably going to at least have some chance for storms return beginning Memorial Day. All right, let's take a look at temperatures over the next few days, and it is going to be hot. Today's high temperature forecast. Panhandle, West Texas, Northwest Texas, it'll actually be a little less hot thanks to weak boundary cool front. Highs only in the 80s, which is nice for late May when you consider the southern 75% of Texas. It's either going to be in the mid to upper 90s, it's either going to be in the 100s or the 110s, 110 degree plus. I don't know how to say that, so we'll just say it like I did and smile and wave and be like, it's Friday. Heat index values. Edwards Plateau, South Texas, Coastal Plains, Rio Grande Valley, 110 to 115 degrees. Southeast Texas, East Texas, Ark-La-Tex, North Texas, Central Texas, the Brazos Valley, Hill Country, heat index values of 102 to 108 this afternoon. It's going to be hot. Tomorrow, it gets worse. Highs in the triple digits. Big Country, Permian Basin, Concho Valley, Trans-Pecos, Edwards Plateau, Big Bend, Rio Grande Plains, South Central Texas, parts of the Hill Country, Rio Grande Valley, Coastal Bend. Some temperatures over 110 degrees. Heat index values add another 10 degrees on top of that, especially from the Edwards Plateau southeast into South Texas close to the coast. 100 in San Antonio tomorrow afternoon, near 100 in Austin, mid-90s in DFW, but it's going to be quite humid with heat index values above 100. Hundreds for perhaps Vernon, Childress, Abilene, Sweetwater, Midland, Odessa, 97 in Lubbock, 94 in Amarillo, a high of about 95 in Houston with a heat index of 105 to 110. Sunday afternoon. Yeah, we're just going to be flirting with triple digits across pretty much the southern 75% of Texas. It's either going to be in the 90s with heat index values well above 100, or it's going to be in the triple digits with heat index values way above 100. It's not going to be a particularly pleasant day in the temperature department. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid, and it's certainly not going to be a pleasant experience. Temperatures upper 80s, 90s in the Panhandle. Now, Memorial Day, this is when we start to see some changes. Cool front, whatever, less hot temperatures. Northern half of the state. Highs back into the 80s to lower 90s. Southern half of the state, it's going to be in the triple digits or worse, triple digits to 110 degrees, heat index values 105 to 115. But then as we get into Tuesday, notice we actually do, with the increasing chance for some clouds and rain chances, high temperatures falling back into the 80s and 90s mostly, with still some triple digits, Edwards Plateau, South Texas, Rio Grande Valley. But, you know, it's still at least 10 degrees cooler than what we're going to be at during the peak this weekend and into Memorial Day. So, yeah, it's been a busy few days. And it's probably going to be busy later today and tonight once again. So remember, big hail, strong winds, a few tornadoes possible. Most folks aren't going to be dealing with things, but those of you who end up under the most rowdy storms, yeah, you're going to have problems. And then maybe a storm or two tomorrow in Texoma, Northwest Texas, North Texas. But we're trending in the right direction with that, with most activity expected to remain well north of the Red River. All right, it's time to say thank you to our spinny doomers. Got to give out those thanks, you know. Thank you to Manda Cakes, Anthony Pelusi Jr. I'm always afraid of mispronouncing these. Ryan Tucker, Scott Sweeney, Jacqueline Alvarez, and Wade. Thank you for your Spinny Doomers membership. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of you who have helped support the channel since we launched this about a month ago. We definitely do appreciate it. And hey, you know what? Hit us up in Discord. I'll do a better job of being in Discord when this weather's finally calmed down a little bit and, you know, I can actually get more than 6 hours of sleep before I'm back at it. Let me tell you, it really does get tiring, but that's what happens in the spring. We'll have time to rest when it's 105 degrees and nothing's going on. So, Sunday. Apparently Sunday. And then it gets a little busy again. All right, as always, you can get your local weather forecast, interactive weather radars, live severe weather coverage, your daily Texas weather roundups, and more here in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Those of you watching this in the Texas Storm Chasers mobile app, appreciate it. Thank you very much. You can find it where you download apps for your device. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers. And of course, thank you to everyone subscribing to us on the Texas Weather Center YouTube channel. We really do appreciate it. Over 36,000 subscribers now. We've had very high analytics over the last month. I wonder why. But again, if needed, we'll have more severe weather coverage today. With that being said, it's nap time for Baldy in Chief. Y'all have a great Friday. Have a great start to your Memorial Day weekend. We'll chat with you later. God bless.